Sweet. Let's get this thing rolling. Thanks for coming over here, Gimp.
Yeah, feeling it pretty good today.
Yeah. You're walking around like you're 70 years old.
I'm going to go have to hit up the chiropractor probably before I go back to work.
Right. Well, which is Sunday?
Sunday night.
Oh, man. Well, I appreciate you for coming. I wanted to get together after you and I filled my tag and then talk about kind of how the season's gone so far and just kind of hopefully give other people hope, I guess. I mean, if we can fill a tag, anybody can.
Right.
So, well, give me a brief, I guess, introduction real quick and because it's been a while since you've been on the show. So why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, if you want.
Tell them what I do for...
Well, you can Coast Gate Hunter.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell people that you work, where you work.
Yeah. So, Brad Powell, Coast Gate Hunter on Instagram. And, yeah, that's me.
That's it.
That's it. I like bow hunting.
Yeah. And killing elk.
I like to kill elk
And pack
with
meat.
my bow and pack meat.
I think the first time I met you, well, I know the first time I met you was on Anthony's Bulls Pack Out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the first thing, one of the first things I learned is like, I like to elk hunt and I like to pack meat. I'm like, cool, all right.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, so let's go ahead and start into this season. And for me, it's been really productive for bugles, which I've never gotten this many bugles this early in the season before over on the coast. Like I've never had this many bugles
This
before.
has been my best season so far, I think, for bugles.
For bugles,
Yeah.
yeah. I hear a lot of guys, it's really mixed because most guys are hearing a lot of elk, but then you see or hear other guys that are like, I haven't seen or touched an elk or even heard an elk all season. And it's like, man, like, I don't know what you're doing. You're either in the wrong area or not. You're just, I don't know what you're doing. But most people I talk to are getting into them.
Yeah.
And so, which is a great difference versus last year, because last year it was pretty good, and then it got shut down for fire season, like, what, around the 9th?
Yeah, we were shut. Well, I know we were shut out for 9 days.
That sucks. Right in the heart.
Yeah.
Right in the
And then
heart.
when we came back in, it was crickets.
You're right.
It was bad.
So
Worst season I've had.
the only difference this year for me is I'm still using the pink reed from Phelps. That's like my go-to reed. And then I'm using the Bro bugle that's going to come out. I don't know when it's coming out, but we were lucky enough to get our hands on a couple. They made me way freaking louder. Like the first thing, as soon as I put my hand on the bugles, immediately I knew a difference of how loud that freaking bugle was. And you could just instantly hear it. And, it's not, everybody across the board noticed that difference, but I think everybody but one that we've talked to, because I know you tried it. What'd you think?
I think it's the loudest tube I've used.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, easily.
So Scott, one of my buddies, Scott, he said he didn't know if it was louder, but he said he got different tones out of it. So I guess that's two guys that I know that didn't know if it was louder, but they liked that it was a little bit different. But James is a quiet caller anyways. He's not super loud.
Right.
But I know that I was getting more echoes down drainages that I'd never gotten echoes down before. And that to me was just like, well, that to me just shows that it's not in my head. I am hearing echoes in drainages. I never had echoes before. And then I'd get rosy bulls, which if you have ever hunted the coast, I was getting bulls to answer 800 to 1,000 yards away across the drainage. And I'm like, I have never had that. Like, that is insane. That many of them anyways. I mean, I've gotten them that far away, but not that many of them. And it was just really seemed like it was really, really good for bugling, but nothing wanted to commit. Anytime I dropped in on something, they just shut up, like, instantly. Especially this one big bugle I had. And his lows were just, I don't know, it was just a really unique, sound like a giant bull, super low bugle. His highs were really low, lower than most bulls' lows. And it just seemed like as soon as I dropped in on him, I got one more bugle, and then he shut up and kind of, I think he just moved up the drainage. But that was just every experience I had this season was like, I could not get anything to commit. I could not get anything to stand around. And I don't know about you, but that's just what my season went.
Yeah. Same here until the other day.
Right.
So, yeah, everything's been, I don't know. Same for me every year. You'll get bugles, but nothing wants to come in until they get cows. Or it's just my tactic, I think, going after the bigger, mature bulls with cows. So
right. Well, and it just seems like these bulls come out of freaking nowhere.
They do. I don't know where they hide. I mean, I can never figure them out. I mean, I run trail cameras all year. You'll have, we've had probably 15 different bulls on camera, and then they vanish. Never seen them again.
Right. And then you'll have a giant come out of nowhere and take the herd. And it's like, what? Yep. Where were you been this whole time? And I know that James and Caleb are on a big bull today, and
never seen that
we've
bull
been hunting.
before.
You more than me had been hunting that area. I'd never seen that bull. You've never seen that bull, and he's a 275, 280 inch Rosie. I mean, he's a big bull, and it's like, where in the hell did you come from?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But so, long story short, you and I had hunted together. How many times have we hunted together this year? This is really the first time we've started elk hunting together.
Yeah, this is the first year. I mean, I met you a couple years ago.
Yeah.
On the pack out, and this is the first year we've elk hunted.
Yeah, because I hunted sled last year, so we didn't really have a chance last year. I helped pack out your bull. You helped pack out my bull, I think. Yeah, you and Penny were both there.
Oh,
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were part of 4 pack outs that year.
Yeah, we were. That was a good year. And so we kind of just developed this friendship, started talking, and figured out we basically hunt the same areas, except you hunt a few different ones than I had been. And so started communicating a little bit, and I don't know, man, it just really seemed to work really well this year. Like, our game plan and our tactics are, I'd say, pretty much identical. You might target more of the herd bull, big bull than I do. And I think you're probably definitely better at getting in on those big herd bulls. But basically the same tactic, same game plan. Like, when we were on my bull, it was like automatic. Like, I didn't have to tell you what I was thinking. You didn't have to tell me what I was thinking. It was like, yep, let's do that. It was just, I don't know, it's just like we'd been hunting for like 10 years together.
Right.
Pretty cool. But, so your season started off with a lot of bugles. Mine started off with a lot of bugles. Did you get in any action at all?
Well, let's see. Well, with you, we had that one bull bugling in the bottom there.
Oh, yeah.
But then, same thing. He went quiet right away.
Right. Yeah, we actually walked right by that bull.
Yeah. Maybe he caught a whiff of us. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he was a ventriloquist, because we had him and his little buddy, and then neither of them were big, but I spotted them in there that evening, called you, and you're like, I know how to get on those things. We were on them first thing. And then I think they were on one side of the creek and we were on the other, and we were walking in opposite directions.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, crap. Because when we figured out where he was, we're like, oh, we walked right by him. But so that was kind of that area seriously blew up. I posted a video of me bugling off of a road, and I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I think people figured out where that was because there was 4 rigs on there the next day. Like, it was ridiculous.
Well, that is probably the most hunted spot in that general area.
You're right, yeah. So, I mean, maybe it was just coinkerdink, but I seriously, I like, dude, I think I'm done posting until we kill something. Like, This is getting a little ridiculous. And so, so you and I decided to change areas, go hunt some of I know this area, like, the area that we had been hunting. I know this area pretty damn well. And you had gotten a tip from somebody, so we checked out a road system, started getting into some elk sign, and this is an evening hunt, right?
Yep.
And were you on vacation at this point?
No.
Really? So
no,
you
that
had
was a weekend.
Was it?
Had to be.
I think it was a Saturday.
Had to be, because I didn't go on vacation until this last weekend.
That's right. And so long story short, we aren't seeing anything. We're seeing people, but we're not seeing any elk. We're getting into some fresher elk sign. And it's what, 6 o'clock? 6:30?
Well, yeah, because we didn't have – yeah, it got dark pretty quick, so it had to be fairly late.
Yeah, and I told you about this road. I'd seen it's kind of funny, a big 4-point bull with ivory tips. I'm like, he must have been just a genetic stud. And I'm like, almost didn't take the road. I'm like, well, screw it, we're already here. And so I went down, and get out, walk the rest of the way, and I am glassing, I bugle, and I started walking back to the truck, and God dang it, I'm being lazy. There's one spot on this little ridge you have to walk down to because there's like half an acre of the unit you can't see very well, and unless you walk down here. And so I did that, and then I glassed, didn't see anything. I start bugling, and before I even end that bugle, this bull just runs into view and starts raking a tree, and I'm like, oh, crap. So I finish the bugle, and he bugles back, and I'm like running back up the hill to you. I'm like, because he looked like a big bull. I think you had heard him, right?
I heard him bugle.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, I see him. So we make a game plan. The wind sucks. Long story short, you actually probably could have killed him. Maybe. We might have been able to kill him that night.
I think we could have if we would have dropped, but we kind of got separated there for a bit. And then I snuck back up the ridge and circled down low because I thought you were down low. It sounded like you were down lower.
Yeah.
I circled back down to find you, and at that point, you're still up the hill.
Right.
But I think if we would have dropped down into the creek, who knows? I mean,
it's really hard to say.
Out.
Yeah, because he still had cows milling around down in the bottom.
Yeah, they probably would have busted
And it
us.
was like, man, but when you dropped down and lost elevation, and then he kind of had like the level or even high ground, that's when he was like, okay, let's play.
Right.
But when we had the high ground, obviously he's like, I'm not leaving my cows. And so long story short, you and I both agree. We put him to bed, and we're like, let's just come back in here tomorrow. And he's obviously is interested in us, and I think we could kill him. You're like, yeah, he's a dead bull. And so we came back in there, and what happens now is probably the most interesting morning I've ever had in the Elkwoods. What about you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We got a little Western.
This is gonna be one story I will never forget, and hopefully we can do it justice by telling it. I almost think we should almost watch the video and comment on the video as we watch it. But so if anybody wants to see what actually happened, you can go on my Instagram there, and it's basically what the WTF happened on my Instagram stories, and it's on there permanently for a while. And but long story short, we get to the spot, we have a game plan, we park the truck, we walk in, and I mean it's barely daylight, and we're already on the bull. I mean we're in the bottom of the creek, and he's 100-ish yards away from where we left him.
Yeah, he went basically to the top of the ridge, fed up to the top of the ridge with his cows.
Right,
he's mid-ridge.
That's true.
Where we left him.
Yeah, and he had like I'd say 8 or 9 cows, and then 3 other bulls in the herd, like two or three spikes, and like a world's smallest 3-point. And so you and I basically automatically like, well, we tried calling him. You just was raking up a storm, bugling back almost every time. And after what would you say, about 15 minutes of that, we're like, if you can keep him raking and bugling, I can sneak in there and kill him. And that's basically what we did.
Yeah, he wasn't coming down. It's too open. He could see down in there.
Exactly. He was in the perfect spot for him.
Yeah.
Really. His only error that I would say was he was way too into raking with his nose in the air. He couldn't see anything. And there'd be 10 or 15 seconds where you could do whatever you wanted. I mean, you could have ran. I did, actually. I ran through a couple openings trying to. It was so steep. And I covered... Oh, man, he was 125 yards above us, and I covered probably 40 yards in 3 minutes, which doesn't sound like that fast, but when you don't have a lot of cover in some spots and it's super steep, to me, that's hauling ass. And you kept him bugling. So at this point, what was your take on that whole situation when I started leaving? What was your goal? What were you doing?
I'm just trying to hold him in the same spot and try to keep his attention on me while you sneak in.
Right. You were bugling, raking. Did you do any cow calling?
I don't think you did. I don't think I did, but I did go, I went off to the left from you probably, 50 yards, 60 yards, maybe even more.
Yeah,
trying to keep his attention on that side while you made your shot up.
Yeah, that was a good play.
Looking over there instead of looking for you.
Right. And there was a there was a ridge that kind of like a timberline ridge that came down to him, but the wind obviously in the morning is going to go top to bottom. It's going to go down. So we made the play to start in the creek and go up on him. And so we had the wind immediately. I think at this point, all of his cows, all of the herd except him, was now over this little finger ridge. So no one in his herd could see us or what was going on. They just heard him bugling back and forth to another bull and raking. And then, so how far, at what point did we hear that other guy bugle?
You were pretty close to him. I mean, I started working my way up the hill, and man, I was probably still 100 yards away from him. But then I heard that guy pipe off, and then as soon as he piped off, I dropped back down to the road.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then went toward him because I saw that bull kind of almost looked like he was going for that other hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, or at least went up on the ridge. It looked like to check him out.
Yeah. In hindsight, it makes complete sense because if that bull has another bull, a.k.a. the hunter, up higher on the ridge.
Or closer to his cows.
Or closer to his cows. There's nothing in between him and his cows except there's nothing. So he went and basically played defense. He ran straight up to the spine and then ran in between his cows and the hunter because the hunter was a threat. We were below him. We weren't really a threat. We were just pissing him off. But at this point, the guy that was coming in up through the top had advantage. He had basically a high ground, and there was nothing in between him and his cows. So it totally makes sense why that bull basically ditched us, went 100 yards around probably, maybe even 100 yards around, but just out of my sight. And then I remember I'm almost standing on his rub. I'm like, I'm going to keep going. And they're like, no, he's up on the top. And so I beat feet up towards the top. I get about 30 yards from the timber line, and then I start seeing elk. And I start seeing elk to my left, to my right. And I'm like pretty much in the herd now. I've got a cow. I can hear the guy bugling, and 100% I can tell it's absolutely a hunter. And but he's got the whole herd's attention. And so I'm walking up, trying to get on the same elevation as that bull so I can shoot straight across instead of taking a steep angled shot. And I still don't even know where the bull is at this point. I'm just assuming he's on the top. And I come around this reprod tree, and probably at about, 15 yards, maybe less, maybe more. I poke around this reprod tree, and then literally I'm staring at a cow in the eyeballs, and she's staring at me. And I'm like, oh, shit. And so I slowly back up around really slowly and back up behind the reprod tree. And she's just staring at me the whole time. And then I take 2 steps around the other direction of the reprod tree. And then here comes into view a spike feeding in this little draw. He's 30 yards. I'm like, crap. And then I take one more step, and then I see the bull. And he looks like he's next to a really big cow up on top of this little ridge on the little flat spot on the ridge. And I'm thinking, oh, crap. I'm like, man, quartered to me. He looked like he was 100 yards. And I'm like, all right, I'll just – it's pretty brushy, but I'll range him. And I hit 77 yards. I'm like, oh, shit, he's in range. So I range him again, 77, 78. And then there's a freaking few fir trees and bushes in front of him. I couldn't get the same range twice. And so I tried putting it on his head. That was sticking out. And I got 78. 2 times in a row. I'm like, you know what? Good enough for me. So I dialed to 78, and I'm like, if I'm off a yard, I'll still kill it. And that guy, at this point, I can see him, the hunter, and he can see me. And so he starts bugling, and he's trying to get that bull. I'm not sure what he's trying to do. I'm guessing he was trying to get that bull back to him or whatever. And but when he bugles that last time, he turns that bull broadside for me, and I'm like, thank you. So I draw back, I anchor, I have the pin right where it wants, and then boom, the bow goes off. It was definitely a surprise release. It went off a little quicker than I was expecting it, but I had it right where I wanted, and it was like the perfect execution for me. And the bull reacts. I'm like, oh, nice. That should have been a really good hit. And he runs actually downhill, quartered to me, runs to about 60. And like I said, guys, every range I had, I guarantee you I was probably under ranging them because I was hitting brush in between me and the bull. At this point, after that first shot, did you know I had shot yet?
I didn't know for sure, but I heard some commotion going on, and I figured you had shot. I mean, because I was directly below you guys because I moved down. I think I might have bugled a couple times.
Yeah.
Also was doing some hand signals that probably were inappropriate to the other hunters. But
yeah, Brad was trying to communicate sign language over to the other hunter.
yeah, which I feel bad about because he ended up being a really cool dude.
Yeah, he was a really cool dude. And once he figured out that I think that we beat him to the bull, he didn't screw us.
Yeah.
And so shout out to Josh. If you listen to this, thank you for not screwing us on that bull. You could have.
And I apologize for if you saw anything.
Well, his kid was up on the ridge with binoculars. So.
Yeah.
But I think he was focused on the bull, so I think you're clear.
Yeah.
But so the bull runs, and at this time I'm like pretty sure I have an arrow in him because he reacted like he got hit. I knew where the pin was. I knew everything felt good, and the only thing was the range. Like did I have the range within a yard or two, and that should be a dead bull. And so he stops, and he's pretty much frontal. I mean, he's slightly quartered away from frontal, but he's all intents and purposes, he's practically frontal, almost level ground, slightly downhill. And he's just looking around, and I'm like, I got to put another arrow in him. So I range. I hit it for like 60 to 62. I kept hitting the bush in front of him, and so I just put it at, I think, 62. And he was behind the bush. A little bit behind the bush, and but I could see exactly where I wanted to hit. And so I anchored, held it right, basically what I figured was probably 2 inches off of his, in front of his front shoulder, so I could go basically right at the base of the neck and into all the vitals, and then hopefully out, by the ham, somewhere back there. And when I shot that arrow, I saw the arrow leave the bow, and then I heard it hit, and he reacted really good that time, and almost instantly was acting like real sluggish, really lethargic, and didn't run. He just was walking slowly, and he actually walked about 30 yards of me. And so I was at full draw again, thinking I was going to shoot him while he was walking by, and it was just too brushy. And I actually ended up getting another shot at him. Did you see him come across the hill?
I saw him at the top of the ridge on that last shot.
Did you? Oh, you actually saw the last shot?
I didn't see you shoot, but I saw where you were standing when you shot him.
Oh, sweet.
On that last.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, and so I ranged him again. I got it for 62-ish. I think he's probably 63, 64. But again, the brush. And so I basically put it right on him when he stopped. And I'm not sure if I barked or if I just cow called to him, but I got him to stop slightly quartered away, and put it basically right in the pocket. Bow was waiting for the bow to go off, The bull starts to take a few steps, and so I literally took it off of where I wanted to aim, put it about a foot. I would say probably a foot in front of his chest because he was moving at this point. The bow went off, and then it hit him about. I can't believe it didn't hit his heart. Honestly, I mean it was within 2 inches of his heart. Almost a perfect shot. And I don't take moving shots at 60, guys. That's not my deal. But when you already have 2 arrows in a bull, you take the shot. I mean, I think that's pretty widely accepted. I don't know about you, Brad, but I would expect somebody to take that shot.
Oh, yeah.
And so
shoot them till they're down.
I saw his reaction on that one, and it reacted like a heart shot, kind of like almost like a. It's a little bit different than a gut shot, but they kind of do that front shoulder hunch and oh crap, and then he kind of trotted off over the edge of the ridge, and then I quit hearing him. And so at this time, you knew I shot him again, and you start coming up the ridge, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm.
Or you're giving me the thumbs up.
I'm giving you the thumbs up and stuff, and you start coming up the ridge. You run into a thing of blood, or what? What happened there?
Where we had him all morning rubbing that tree, there's a pool of blood right at the base of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew you had shot it then.
And there was another bull bugling across the creek, though, right? Which turned out to be other hunters.
Yeah. There's hunters everywhere.
Dude, there was 3. There was us. some friends of ours.
Some guys from California.
And then there was us, some guys from California, and then 2 local groups trying to kill the herd that we were on. One of them was trying to kill you because you were a big bull on the bottom.
I was the big bull, he says. You guys hear that big bull on the bottom? Yeah, that was me.
That was me. Oh, you sound good.
It's that bro too, buddy.
Dude, you do have some really good chuckles, though.
They're all right. I try.
They are some. I'd say they're pretty exceptional chuckles. I don't know what you do. I was trying to figure it out, but you definitely got the chuckles down for sure. And so yeah, you're coming up to me. You find the blood trail, and then you somehow run across the blood trail. Or did you follow the blood trail up?
You had me. I think you had me follow the blood trail to where I had last seen him. If I remember where you made that last shot.
Okay. And then
then you met me there.
And the blood was good, you said, the whole way.
Yeah, it's steady. I mean, it wasn't like pouring out of him, but it's steady blood trail. It didn't peter out at all.
Which was like a ways after I shot him that second time.
Yeah.
150 yards. And so after you told me there was a pool of blood there, because he didn't really stop there hardly at all. And you told me there was a pool of blood. I'm like, oh, he definitely lost some blood while he was moving. That was pretty good. And so we sit there. How long did we sit there once you and I reached each other? 45 minutes?
I would think 45.
Yeah. That guy from above us walked down, I think. Or no.
No, the Californians did.
Oh, those were the Californians?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they walked down through that. I don't even know where they came from.
Neither do I.
And then the dad, he was down there at the bottom when we made our way down there.
Right.
I think the 2 kids walked down through that.
Right.
Through the creek.
And so at some point, those guys walked down the road we came in on. And then I don't know what made us go check, but we went over the little finger ridge, and then there's 2 trucks parked.
We heard the elk take off, we thought.
That's right.
Yeah, so we're like, man, let's go peek over the edge and see what's going on.
And
look over the edge, and there's like a crowd of people down there. Right. Some dudes down there. I've got blood down here.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for yelling on my blood trail. Yeah. Everybody was super cool.
They're all good guys.
But I heard them talking like, we should probably let those guys know that their bull crossed the road down here. I'm like, oh, shit. When I heard that, I'm like, that's like 300 yards away, dude. How do you make it that far if I shot him good? And it was granted it was all downhill, but I've never had an animal go that far when I've smoked them. You know, usually it's less than 100 yards. But we never got bubbles till we hit the red, I think. Then we started getting bubbles in the blood. Right.
Then, you found a couple of nice boogers or something.
Yeah, lung butter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew I had gotten them in the cavity when I started seeing that. And there was some light colored blood. You found that bubbly leaf. And then as we're literally talking, I'm like looking around. I'm like, oh shoot, there's bubbly blood right here. So yeah, we have a big powwow with 2 rigs down there. There's like 5 guys, and turns out we had friends watching us through a spot and scope farther up the ridge too, and everybody was super cool. They congratulated us, and they took off, and we decided to give them 3.5 hours. So we drove off, got some service, made some phone calls, came back down 3.5 hours later. By now it's 11 o'clock, 11:30, 11:30, and we start in on them, and got good blood, pretty much. I mean, it was not great blood, but good blood. It was steady, which is pretty impressive because it was 300 yards beyond where I last shot him, and he's bleeding pretty damn good. And we make it in it. Now how would you describe the brush that we're in? 15-year-old reprod?
Yeah, about the right age.
Yeah, a lot of
like
brush.
3-yard visibility.
Yeah, most spots 3-yard visibility. Some spots maybe 10. Maybe
10, but you might be able to see 10 yards, but you're not shooting 10 yards.
Right. Yeah.
Thick.
That's well put.
Yeah.
Well put. And then so we're walking in there. I'm ribboning the blood trail, and we start getting in there probably 70, 80 yards. We're taking our time. We're being quiet, and I don't know how to describe it. What would you say what happened next?
I thought it sounded something just started making noises. I thought it was a bear cub.
Like that.
It sounded like a cub whining.
Yeah.
And then we started hearing some huffing, which sows do that. So
yeah.
I'm like, that's a bear. But it was being aggressive.
Yeah.
And I don't know, did it quite a bit, and I think we kept on moving in, didn't we?
We did.
Kept moving in because I
Yeah.
Bears run off, so.
Yeah. And the Cubs were on the other side of us in the South.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, how they get really aggressive towards like other bears and they make those weird throaty sounds. Like it's like a weird, really weird sound. It was kind of making that sound. And so I thought it was a sow with Cubs too. And then it was just huffing and then it breathing really heavy, like almost like a panting. And so we move in on it thinking we're just going to scare it away. I think you check the wind, and you're like, dude, the wind's blowing like right to it.
Blowing right to it.
And then at that time, I'm like starting to second guess life choices. I'm like, if he knows we're humans, we're talking and yelling at it, and it's still not backing up, I'm like, and neither of us had a freaking gun. That's mistake number one, which I will never make that mistake again. I'm packing a pistol every time in the woods. And I usually do pack a pistol, but not that this makes it okay, but my wife got her concealed carry, and so she's carrying it quite often now. So I don't have a pistol. I gotta go buy one. And I think we chose to back out, didn't we? At that point, a little bit.
We backed out, not too far. We just
20 yards,
kind of backed down, kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
And I think we chose to go back in.
Right.
Knock some. Well, we had arrows knocked already.
We had arrows knocked, and so you're kind of leading the charge on the way back in, and I'm like, like cautious and filming, and it's not backing up. I think it's actually kind of coming in and holding its ground, and it seems to be, to me, getting more aggressive.
It's doing a purring sound.
That was really weird.
Yeah, that's when I was like, man, is that a bear or a cat?
Yeah.
Because it sounded just like a lion from Africa.
Right.
Purring. I'm like,
it sounded giant, dude.
That's not good.
Yeah. I was thinking back to like the wildlife safari we have here, like a game park, and I'm like, that sounds just like those goddamn lions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not good. And it starts, what freaked me out is that you'd hear that, and then I'd hear twigs pop to my left, like 20 yards. I'm like, that's freaking sketchy. Because what if there's cougars that run in packs around here, like
right. See people post trail cam pictures of
3
it
or
all
4
the time.
cougars together, yeah. And some of them, obviously it's like a mom with kittens or something, but her kittens are freaking like 70 pounds. I mean, some of these groups of cougars, they're not just little dinks. That's like one full grown one and then like 3 almost full grown ones, and they're still hanging around mom for some reason. And so I'm thinking, like, man, we're getting surrounded by a pack of freaking cougars. How this never happens. And then I think all of a sudden I start filming. We're yelling at it at this point. I think I gave it the Wookiee. You made
Chewbacca.
Yeah. I did a Chewbacca to it. You made some weird sound. And we're still kind of joking, or like I'm nervously joking around at this point. I'm like, this is sketchy as shit. And you push forward at this point.
Yeah, we got pretty close to it, and I set up because you could kind of see, a little bit further than, I don't know. I could see, like we were just saying, you could see 10 yards, but I only had a 3-yard shot if something was to come out. And then, whatever it was started running at me. I could see the brush start to move.
Oh.
And I was like, fuck this shit. And I took off running like a girl, and I was getting out of there. And I'm like,
well, I mean, it was on you before you could say, I think you said like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And it was already on you. Like, I would say 15 yards, maybe.
It was close.
It was close. You actually saw it.
I saw something brown or, whatever. It looked like a cat, but who knows? Maybe color phase bear. I think it was a cat.
It was too quiet to be a bear.
I don't know what it was.
But that brush erupted, and it was on your ass. Like, I didn't even have time to draw my bow. You didn't have time to draw your bow. You said,
well, I probably could have drawn my bow, but shit, I don't know.
I don't think people realize how fast it happens out there. Like, I always like, oh, well, I'll just draw back and shoot it. I personally didn't have enough time to draw back and shoot it before you said, oh, fuck.
Right.
Like, I was like, oh, shit. And then
part of me wishes I would have just nutted up and sat there. That would have been sweet.
Dude.
You could have, I mean,
kill
a cat on your buddy's kill. I mean, that is sweet.
Yeah.
But
at this point, we're trying to figure out, we're like, he's on the blood trail. He has to be on my bull.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason
That's
for
what
it
we're
to be.
thinking.
Yeah, there's no reason for it to be.
Why is this thing doing what it's doing? We both thought, yeah, your bull's right there. That's what we thought.
It's got to be, because kittens, if it had cubs or kittens or whatever, there's no reason for it to be that aggressive when the kittens are behind it.
Right.
And so, yeah, we came down to the conclusion that this has to be on my kill, and it's not going to leave until we make it leave. And we don't have the equipment to make it leave, or the desire, honestly. Like, I wasn't willing to go in there. And so at that point, I forget, it's all kind of a blur because it happened so quick. I think I tell you to back up to me, and we'll kind of like back up backwards together. And so I think you make it a little bit off to me, to my left, and we start backing up, and I'm talking the whole time. I'm backing up, and then I turn to start facing towards the road, which is about 80 yards from us, the gravel road, and the limb grabs my release out of my hand and throws it, and I'm like, this is not good. So I think at that point, I'm like, Brad, you got to cover me because I got to find my goddamn release now. And I spent probably 5 minutes looking for that release, found it again, my hinge. And at that point, I'm like, I'm never using a hinge again. This is stupid. I've lost this thing so many times out in the wood, had to go back and look for it. I am constantly, and it's just not the hinge's fault, it's my fault. But my personality, with the way that I forget shit, I need to just have something literally attached to me. And I don't want something just dangling there in the way when I'm trying to use my hand. So if anybody out there has a good way to attach a release to your body, like your wrist, I don't want it on my body attached to like my chest or anything, because I think that's stupid. I want it attached to my wrist without being in the way, and I don't think there's a good way to do that. And then also have complete shot execution with the way it should go. So if anybody has an idea, let me know. But I'm thinking I'm switching back to a wrist rocket after that. It's just too sketchy. But and then so we get back together. I think we both agreed, said, fuck this, we're getting guns and we're coming back. And so we were getting ready to drive, like hour and a half back to town.
Mm-hmm.
Get pistols or guns or shotguns or whatever, bazookas, come back and then go get the bull, which would have put the bull dead for probably close to 7 hours, 8 hours. I mean, granted, it was cool, but then you're starting to risk, meat rot, which I don't think there probably would have been. But so anyways, you're like, you heard a rig coming, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm going to run out there and try and stop it. And then it was a guy pulling a trailer. His name's Mark. Hero of the day. Probably the hero of the story. And did you ask him if he had a gun?
Yeah, you yelled at him. They stop. He gets out. I'm like, you got a gun? I always got a gun. I'm like, well, shit, yeah. He's like, what's going on? Right. I'm like, we think a cat on my buddy's kill up here. You fucking shitting me? No, I'm dead serious, man. And he freaking, pulled out this freaking, what was that thing?
A 44 revolver.
Yeah.
44 mag.
And he led the way. He charged in there like
hand cannon.
Crazy guy.
Yeah.
I told him no shits.
He didn't care. He wanted to kill that thing like it was nobody's business.
I grabbed your phone, started filming. I'm like, I'll just hang back here while this guy charges in here.
At this time, we don't even know Mark's name. He's just like, show me the way. And I'm like, well, we ribboned off the blood trail. And he takes it out. He's like, I'm going in hot. And so he cocks it back. And so we stay behind him, obviously, and he's just going in there with a freaking hand cannon. And the guy's so cool. Oh, my God. He's like he's definitely my favorite person in this whole story.
Oh, yeah.
And so he leaves his wife, and he parks his truck, leaves his wife in the rig, tells her what's going on, charges in, and we're following him in there. And he follows the ribbon, sees the blood. And we get into there where we're like, okay, this is where things started to get western here. And he pushes forward past where we had been, maybe 15 yards, 20 yards. And he's like, I don't see any cat in here, but I see your bull. And I'm like, hell yeah. That freaking whatever that animal was had claimed my bull and was holding its ground. And then between when we left and Mark came back, it had left. Like, I don't know why it had left, but it had left. And so that was pretty awesome. And lesson learned on that one. And so Mark was like, well, I'm not going to leave you guys completely. I'll go park my trailer and then bring back basically some friends of his and watch us, take care of the bull and make sure that the cougar doesn't come back. Because at this point, I'm thinking, will it come back? Is it going to come back? I've never even been in this situation before.
Right.
And so I've got a machete. You take the machete out, and you're cutting branches off of trees.
Yeah, trying to clear out some room.
Yeah, to process this bull. And I'm thinking, well, at least we got a machete to hit it with or something. And so long story short, we start taking care of the bull. Mark comes back, and it's a couple buddies I have from the coast that I've shot over at the 3D shoot. I've met them over there through Anthony and Shelby, and it was Brian and Tanya Thrall from Music in the Mountain Productions, which is a YouTube channel, Music in the Mountains. And be sure to go subscribe. Awesome people. They actually have some really epic footage from this year's bow season. They killed a bull, and the sound quality and then the footage is I think it's gonna be pretty epic. But because they showed me a little bit of a teaser video, and it was like, holy crap. And so be sure to go check them out. And then so basically they watched us process the bull, brought us a couple beers, right? Or did you go back and get a beer with Dustin?
That's what happened. Me and Dustin carried out a couple quarters, and he's like, you want a beer? I'm like, shit, yeah, I want a beer. Yeah. So then we brought you one.
Right.
Came back and.
Yeah. Dude, I packed out the scrap meat, and I think that was it.
Yeah.
I think Mark packed my bow just to pack something, and then Brian took the head.
Me and that Dustin guy, we each got a quarter, or we each carried 2 quarters.
Yeah, that guy was a stud.
He's pretty good shape because I'm no slouch, and I was like halfway there. I started ahead of him. Here he comes flying by me. I'm like, holy crap! Right on.
Yeah, and you can pack meat like no one's business. You're pretty.
That's what never mind. I'll leave out the dirty comment.
Oh, that's okay.
Just say that's what my wife says too, but my bad.
It's okay. And what else happened from there?
The Mark guy is like, yeah, when he first came up, not Mark, but
Brian?
Brian.
Oh,
I thought that was you guys because of that damn beanie. I'm like, yeah, that's us. He's glassing us up. He's like, the beanie gave it away.
Yeah, he's like, I knew that was Garrett when I saw the big guy with the beanie because Garrett hunts with Brad, who wears a beanie. I was like, yep.
It's not. I have like 5 of these beanies in my house. I don't wear the same one. I alternate them.
Do you want to talk about your beanie?
No. It's a comfort. It's a comfort thing. I'm not going bald.
You will wear that thing in 100-degree weather.
It's just part of me.
Well, one of my buddies online was talking, and he's like, what's the deal with your buddy and his beanie? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never actually asked him. It's kind of like this.
I got a full head of hair.
Unspoken thing.
I got voted best hair in high school, so it's not a
really?
hair issue. Yeah.
Well, I told him, like, well, as long as he keeps killing elk, I don't really care what he wears.
Yeah.
And you told me to tell him that it helps you kill big bulls, and so you can't argue with it because you killed a big bull this year.
Yeah.
But so outside of that was pretty much the morning, and so Brian and Tanya watched the whole thing go down through a spot and scope while some California dudes, cool dudes from California, tried to stalk in on Brad and shoot him with a bow, and then I had a guy trying to shoot a bull from I call out from under me because we were on it at daylight, but I don't think that was actually his intention. I don't really know what his intentions were, but they were good intentions once he figured out that he was beat, to the bull. He didn't blow the herd out of there, which he very easily could have done. When I was on that bull, literally, if I would have opened my other eye, I could see him and my scope in the same. Like he wasn't in danger. He was about 125 yards up the hill, but I could see him and the bull and my sight all in one view. It was pretty crazy. Just how pressured that bull was going to be here in about literally minutes. And so just insane how it went down. But so, yeah, that's the story of my bull, and lessons learned, always pack. And I will never not leave the woods, even if it's just to go retrieve an animal or anything. I'm always going to have a freaking pistol on me. And I never thought that would happen.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, you usually pack a 9 with you, don't you?
Oh, it's in the truck. I never packed it when I killed my bull the other day. I started thinking about that after I got an arrow, and I'm like, oh, shit.
Not this again.
Yeah. started thinking about that. I'm like, man, I'm a ways from the rig.
Yeah.
But,
I gave you a box of 9 and I'm like, we're not playing games. Like, here's the ammo.
no, I got it. It's ready. I should probably buy a holster and pack that thing around with me.
Yeah. Dude, the EXO, for my my wife's compact little Walther PK 380, that pistol fits perfectly in the EXO little hip belt pouch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can fit that and a roll of ribbon in there. It's like perfect, and it's easy access, and so that's where I keep it. But yeah, so there you go, folks. That's how my bowl went down. We got it out. It actually ran about 100 yards from the truck, maybe. I mean, it ran pretty damn close to the truck on flat ground. I mean, everything was like, I think I even joked earlier. I'm like, how cool would it be if this thing died next to the truck or down there on the flat? It was a cool flat area, 100 yards from a gravel road, and literally the easiest pack I've ever had. I didn't think I was ever going to have an easier pack after my last bowl. This bowl was easier.
Flat ground.
Flat ground.
Freaking everyone showed up.
Yeah, we had like 7 or 8 guys there. But, yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that story, and I really hope you guys are having some success in the woods. So far this year, I've been getting a lot of messages, guys wondering, why they're not getting answers, why, what's going on here. I know that North Coast seemed to start off like fire this year, dude. It was like everybody up north, like my buddy Austin killed.
Kincaid.
Yeah, they killed
2
2 bulls
right off the get-go.
And those bulls came in storming.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, I think he called that bull basically into his truck.
It seems like that way every year, though. Man, I need to not do this because it pisses me off. But everyone up north, I feel like they get bulls fired up right off the get-go. And down here, my luck at least, I mean, not everyone's luck, but it's usually the 16th, which is today.
Is it today the 16th?
I think so. This is the day. I make sure I'm out there. But, yes, I think we're like a week behind. I feel like we're a week behind than the North Bulls.
Well,
I could be wrong. It's just a theory. But I just, over the years, my success, this is the earliest I've ever punched my tag.
That's crazy.
So,
well, I think that's because you're hunting herds with big bulls.
right.
Like, you're focusing on that dynamic.
Yeah. Trying to, yeah. I mean, I would have shot a raghorn this year.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I'm shooting the first one that walks out that's legal.
Yep.
Minus
I mean,
last
you
year.
have to. I mean, you don't have to, but man, those herd bulls are hard to kill.
They're really hard to kill, and you have to basically play all your cards right, I think. And you have to know – I think you have to actually know what you're doing. There's not much of getting lucky. If you catch one being retarded out in the middle of a unit, that's another thing. But once they're in the timber and once they're that whole dynamic is going on and you got a hot cow and you got this and that and the herd ain't stopping, like we'll get into your bull next episode, but you really do have to know what you're doing to really consistently kill those big bulls, I believe.
Yeah.
But so one thing I've learned, guys, is volume is king on your bugles. I would rather be louder than sound like a championship caller. I'd rather be loud. I'd like to be the loudest guy in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the loudest guy in the woods, but I'm pretty damn loud. And I've never gotten more bugles and drainages. I've gotten bugles and drainages I've never had before, and I've gotten bugles the farthest away I've ever gotten before on the coast. And I've gotten the most bugles I've ever gotten this early. So usually I'll get that kind of action, like you said, around the 16th. That's when I'll start getting 2 or 3 bulls to pipe off in a drainage.
When'd you kill your bull that one year?
Which one?
Your 6x6, the one I helped you pack out the first time.
That was the 16th?
Yeah. I knew that. That's why I asked that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good point. The earliest I ever killed a bull who you would have thought it was the 16th was I think the 29th of August. He was freaking fired up. But that was a unicorn, and people knew that he was an early season bull, which I think is another thing to talk about too. But we'll do that on another podcast. So outside of that, guys, appreciate you for listening. And if you've guys got any questions, I'm not an expert. I've only recently started finding success with elk with a bow, but it's pretty repeatable once you figure it out. So if you have any questions, like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm going to try and have some experts on the show here soon. Try and get the angry spike guys on after they punch their tags, and get some real guys that have some crazy good stories and a lot of experience and stuff that, like Brad and I think listened to their podcast. Was that before or after we killed my bull?
That was after, I believe.
Yeah, we came home and then watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were going to go back out and try and kill you a bull that evening. Yep. And long story short, I'm always hungry for information. Brad's a sponge as well. He's always learning and going. And so hopefully you guys can get some valuable lessons this year. Listen to some good podcasts. There's a lot of good information out there that can help you speed up that learning curve. And that's probably one of the one things I've done is just listen to the right podcasts.
Yeah, Angry Spike guys, man. They help me. I mean, I blame a lot of my success on them.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta be all in though. You gotta be all in. The information I took from them, I just applied it and all in. It's been working. So
yeah,
probably should listen to those guys for sure.
Well, and on the next,
you're gonna have them in. So
100%.
Listen to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and on the next podcast, I think Brad and I are going to probably go into more tips and tactics of what he does to get on bulls, what I've noticed when you get on a herd, and things that we've both done to find success. And success to me, that's just getting in on a herd and getting in range and getting a shot. Doesn't mean you necessarily killed it, but there's a lot of successes if you really start opening it up. That one little spot where maybe if you just missed the bull, but everything else was right. I mean, I call that a success. I mean, you got in there on a herd, you got within range, you played the cards right, you beat the bull right, you beat him right there at that point. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned. Just because you didn't kill that bull doesn't mean you didn't play your cards right. So, anyways, guys, all right. Well, we'll catch you on the next one, and appreciate you for listening. All right, guys, that's this episode of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. And if you have a chance, be sure to go follow Brad on Instagram at Cascade Hunter. Just type in his name, Brad Powell. He'll pull right up. Follow his adventures on there. He's reluctantly getting pulled into the kind of the social media influencer game slowly. I'm dragging him. He's kicking and screaming along the way, but I'm dragging him in. So he's definitely a good guy to follow. A lot to learn from him. And if you haven't yet, be sure to go leave a review on iTunes. I know those do help somehow in the algorithm world. And if you have a good review, let me know what you like. If you have a bad review, leave me a bad review, but let me know what you don't like so we can try and get better. This is your guys' show that you listen to, right? So I want to make sure that we're making content that you guys are absorbing and getting stuff out of and trying to turn that information into application out in the woods. So outside of that, guys, appreciate you for listening. And we're going to follow this episode up very shortly. After this episode, I'll upload Brad's bull experience and talk about that, and we'll actually start getting into some strategy, some tips and tactics that Brad uses, and things that we both have discovered and found while chasing these roses around the woods. So outside of that, guys, appreciate it, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.